It's about to get dangerous. Dad was going to be honored in Chicago. It's 1971. I'd never hitchhiked and I was afraid to get in and out of cars with strangers. Duh. But I decided he couldn't afford for me to go, and I, by God, stuck out my thumb in front of the Dallas Market Center. I was so scared. And I got a job, and for 2 hours I waited, and then for $2 I got all the way to Chicago. I was hooked. Everybody was lovely. I got there, Daddy was thrilled. When I got to Chicago, he was really being honored along with a lot of really great people. And I was introduced to this one man who had buried the famous torch singer Billie Holiday, who at the time had only been dead maybe 15 years. He was an African-American man. I'm sorry I don't know his name. There's no way I've been able to figure it out. But he offered me to sit down and smoke a joint with him. And even though I never really been crazy about, marijuana, and my father was very disapproving, I thought, you know what, I am not saying no to smoking a joint with a man that buried Billie Holiday. So I sat there and got high with him and asked him about Billie Holiday and what it was like to kiss Billie Holiday, and he's told me about Billie Holiday's breasts. I mean, it was a man conversation. And I thought, I think I'm starting to feel young. I just really honestly had not had a chance to feel young after that story I told you earlier. Gosh, I bet you wonder which story I'm alluding to. And so, my father, I must say how much I loved my parents, the way they just absolutely gave me so much rope. I told my father I wanted to just hitchhike on to Toronto and Montreal, and he just gave me $60 and he gave me his blessing. I'm sure he was worried, but he never told me so, and I did. Here's what I would do when I would go now, hitchhiking into the thing, because this launched into a whole new era of my life. Anytime I would get to the town like Toronto and then Montreal, I would call the police department. I'd ask to speak to the vice squad. And when the vice people came on, I said, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm looking for the gay bar, and I know you know where it is. I'd be so grateful if you'd tell me where the gay bar is. And not one time did the vice police ever fail me. They always were nice because I was polite. So I end up at this bar in Montreal, and I meet this handsome French-Canadian director, and he directed what they called underground films, if anybody remembers those. And they weren't supposed to make any sense, and they were sharks, and they played in art theaters, and they were all senseless, and they were for stoners. You drop acid and go, oh my God, look, it's melting, So now this guy takes me on to New York. So now I'm in New York with this handsome French-Canadian. And he wants to cast me in his movie. And of course, I'm thinking this is going to be a real serious role. I don't mean I'm Macbeth, but I did think that it was going to be more than what it was, and here's what it was. Apparently it had some pull, and if you know New York at all, Fifth Avenue, there's the New York City Library, and across the street, I think, it is Lord & Taylor. And he had gotten some sort of clearance that at 7 in the morning, for God's sakes, they had it up there, and I found myself now in a turban, in a big basket, being lowered from a window at Lord & Taylor onto the sidewalk below, where the sidewalk was covered wall to wall in lemons, and there was a mime dancing on the lemon. So I'm like lowering, and when that was over, I thought, I don't know about this guy. So, he was going back to Montreal, and his invitation for me to return with him was pretty lukewarm. So I decided I was going to hitchhike back to Dallas. And you know what I decided? I decided, no, I'm staying in New York. And you know what I decided to do? I was going to sleep in Central Park. I had found a wooded area called the Rambles over on the West 70s. And I thought, you know what? And here's what I said to myself. I was so proud of myself because, believe me, hitchhiking had really helped me get through my fear of strangers. For a while. And I thought to myself, all right, If you sleep in Central Park and you're killed in your sleep, you'll never know. You'll wake up dead. And then the chance of you being really killed in Central Park are pretty damn remote. So you know what? Just do it. So I would go to sleep, and by the way, the city was so run down and cheap. You know that dancers are the poorest people in anywhere. Dancers could live alone without a roommate 3 blocks from Central Park West in the 70s. I don't mean the 1970s. I mean like 71st Street, 73rd Street, 78th Street. And a lot of them would let me shower and clean up there and everything. I was cute. But I liked to sleep in Central Park. And then at night, I would hear the Schaefer Music Festival playing live music, and all of a sudden there'd be Billie Holiday's. I don't mean Billie Holiday, I mean Ella Fitzgerald singing, and then there'd be Sarah Vaughan, and I think, oh my God, Sarah Vaughan. And then I would hear what was going to be the legends of the future in Latin. There would be Tito Puente, there would be Celia Cruz, and then, oh my God, Hector Lavoe. If any of you have ever heard of Hector Lavoe, Google it and YouTube it. From Puerto Rico, Hector Lavoe. And when I heard that, I would just like a zombie walk toward it. I was so taken. And then all of a sudden, their second sponsor now was American Airlines. And American Airlines was announcing their new non-stop flight to Hawaii. 11 hours, non-stop, New York to Honolulu, 1971. You ready? That's 43 years ago. So this was very progressive. And I thought, you know what? I think I'll do that. and already, remember how I said you have to be your own best friend? I'd be over here going, are you crazy? How are you going to do that? And I thought, I don't know, Rawlins. Figure it out. Come on. Let's figure it out. And I go, well, if anybody can do it, you can, you know. So I ended up buying a copy of the book called Steal This Book. Yes, Jerry Rubin's book, Steal This Book. It's one of the Chicago 8, but that's a whole other blah, blah, blah. But I loved his ways because I thought, you know what, if you're going to be a true adventurer, you have got to be naughty. I mean, you don't have to be hurting people or doing something, but you have to be willing to take chances and really. So here's what I did, and people all my adult life have asked me how I stowed away on planes, and let me tell you something, it's never been the same way twice, but for the first time publicly, because the statute of limitations is over, I'm going to tell you how I got on that plane. First of all, I found out that it's got empty seats. That's pretty important. I now go to